All right, guys, welcome to Chibi No Podcast. You got me, David the Smash Fan,
Maz your tech guy.
Mister.
and today we have a video talking about a news article that came out a couple hours ago regarding Phil Spencer and regarding the future of Xbox and of Microsoft and gaming. Specifically, they talked about how Phil Spencer, the focus that he has on the Xbox Series is going to be frame rates.
He wants to focus on it quite a bit.
Yeah, over resolution. So, kind of what we've seen here is, I'm pretty sure all of us have played games where, they say that it runs at this frame rate, whether it's 30 or 60, whatever it is, and if it ever goes down because the hardware can't keep up with what's happening on the game, it feels all sluggish and it just sucks.
Well,
and it kind of takes you out of the those who play like Breath of the Wild. Like, you've seen that before where it just went all like 5. Yeah, like 5 frames.
The Lost Woods. The Lost Woods.
When it goes down to I think Digital Foundry did a video on that, and there are some times when it dipped down to 15. It's visually jarring. Not just feeling, it's visually jarring.
When we were reading that article, it even said anything under 30 is when you get some input lag and stuff like that. So 30 is not the hot spot, but that's the best spot, so you don't get that much.
It's what a lot of console people are used to too.
They want to put it as a minimum. I mean, but we're talking 9-day if we're gonna go into PC because they have uncapped ones. Whether or not you can physically see it past a certain number, that's different. But yeah, but now the question is, where do we stand, or where do you guys stand on this? Where Phil Spencer is prioritizing frame rates over resolution?
Well, I'll go first real quick because I know Miles is probably different than what I'm going to say. I think it's perfectly okay because where the Xbox is at, I still feel like it's going to be the stronger console than the PS5. I don't remember reading the specs of the PS5, although they're pretty similar, but I think the Xbox Series X is a bit stronger. And I know that the 4K that the Xbox One X has isn't ultra settings, but it's mid to high or something like that. Whatever the number is or the settings it is on the 4K, but they can nail it. And I feel like Spencer wants to have more frames because they're like we can push the 4K, and then they're going to obviously try to push the 8K when that comes around. So I think they want to push higher frames because they're confident where they're at this moment. So that's my opinion on it. I think that it's fine at this time.
Okay.
I have a very interesting take on this. So, just so everybody's listening, on our gaming PCs, everybody here is at least 120 or above. Just so everybody's aware, we all know what it's like to play on 120. I was a bit ignorant growing up with consoles, never really having a gaming PC or knowing. I already heard 144 or 240 or 120 FPS on PCs. I'm like, oh yeah. It wasn't until I went to a friend's house and I actually sat down and I remember playing Doom, the 2016 one. And when I played that, I remember I was just it felt so fluid. I had no idea I was playing at 144. And I told my friend, why does everything feel super fluid? Is it your mouse? Something just feels incredible. I've never felt this before. It's a feel, not a visual, And he's like, oh, yeah, I didn't tell you. That's my new monitor that you're running at 144 frames per second. I'm like, what? And it was night and day, and it sold me. And I remember coming to you guys, and I finally, when we played Overwatch, you guys tried 60 to 120, and it was night and day feel for you guys as well. And Now, here's the thing, though, right? On a console with a TV, if you ever play with a controller, I always tell people, you place a controller at 120 versus 60. Say you're on a monitor and the input lag's already low, because the input lag has a lot to do with this. You feel the movement of a controller versus a mouse, and I personally feel very minimal difference. Now, here's the thing though, you go to a TV like mine, I have one of the OLEDs. If you go from 60 to 120 with the controller, you feel a difference. Well, the reason why is on these TVs, when you when you go from 60 to 120 on a TV, the input lag is reduced in half. So technically what you're feeling isn't so much the difference from 60 to 120 on a controller. You're technically feeling the smoothness of dropping your input lag down to what PC gamers are usually more familiar with.
Yeah, and then you're getting, I think what you said, because I was away from the mic for a minute, but you're also able to make the shots count because like you're not skipping frames, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's true, but but your eyes detecting that not so much. You're noticing a fluidity in the peripheral of like when you're panning around, the visual, the smearing and all that is more accurate. So in theory, I mean not in theory, technically yes, you are seeing a guy. You're seeing a guy before they appear, right? But your eyes to keep up and process is very minimal. It's there, but it's minimal. But the difference really is that input lag, right? If you go from 13 milliseconds to 6 milliseconds, pro gamers know that feel. And that's not so much at the 120, that's more at the 60. It just helps kind of the visual part of that as well, right? Yeah. Or if you're good enough, you can still see that split second of a guy quicker. I get that. But what I'm getting at is I think Phil's caring more about this because in their marketing, they're trying to market 120. But as we know with the Xbox One X and stuff, and what they've been doing is they're supporting mouse and keyboard now, right? And anybody knows you get a mouse and keyboard and you get that 120 effect on a mouse. That, with that type of precision over a joystick that kind of drags to aim, you really feel the difference. You really notice it on a mouse compared to a controller. And I'm wondering, like, what is the purpose of going 120 on these new consoles, if not to have that mouse, or to support these TVs that do 120 where it really drops down the input lag. It makes you feel a difference. So in that sense, I'm kind of wondering, like, where are they going with this? Like, what are they trying to achieve?
I think it's more for the future, just so that everything is kind of like we've already hit these milestones, so that when they hit, how do I explain it? When they go further into the future, it's already there. Like, we've already hit these milestones, so we're just looking at the next big thing. That's what I'm thinking. That's what they're doing. But I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion on it. Like, they're just being like, okay, if we can hit these, we're good. And then now the next step is 8K 120. You know what I mean? Like, in their minds. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's what they're thinking.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Like, what do you guys think when you see... Okay, here's a good example. This is the most recent case. I bought on the Xbox when it was still working. Jedi Fallen Order, I bought to get on the X just for the comfortability of the TV. They had a performance mode and they had a regular mode. The regular mode, it was like 30 FPS with higher visuals at 1080p. And then the other one was like variable refresh rate. It was supposed to be a 60, but it really wasn't at 1080p. Well, when I did the performance mode, it was smoother, but I was still getting hiccups and it was driving me nuts. And ultimately I just refunded the damn thing, got on PC, and then I was fine. But that kind of stuff kind of irks me. It's like, it was 1080p, but it was so noticeable, especially with today. I feel the perfect medium for, like, 4K is so hard to push, even with the Series X for what it's going to be. It's still a hard milestone. And
for anything,
for anything, even PCs right now.
You're gonna have to like. Yeah.
How do you guys feel? Like, I think the perfect medium right now is I still like that clarity, because 1080p on a 4K, you can still tell. I mean, it's not as crisp, you know? Going from 1080p to 2K or 4K, those are noticeable. But I don't necessarily need, like, 4K 120, right? And if they're going to do
2K is going to be the sweet spot. Like,
yeah.
It'll say it can push 4K 120, but I think they want to go higher. Like, you know, you always want to sell yourself higher than what you are. That's what they're doing with the Xbox. They're selling it higher than what it's... Then they're not selling it higher than what it is, but it's like, we can hit the 4K 120, but there's going to be issues here and there.
And they'll have the HDMI 2.1.
You can go down and do 2K. Yeah, and then you can do 2K 144 all day, all night.
But you need the... Oh, go ahead, David.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say... Well, I mean, let's look at this. What happened with Stadia? Because Stadia promised that it was 4K 60 frames per second, which it did not do. It was a
still
terrible lie. Yeah, it's not going to do that. It doesn't matter how great... You get a fiber, it's not going to hit that. It's not going to run smoothly. They didn't know that
marketing numbers, right?
Marketing something that they cannot promise. So, and Phil Spencer has been very transparent in all of his dealings regarding Microsoft, regarding Xbox. And so, honestly, I would say this, at least for my point, and then we'll say our final thing. So, my thing is, like, I honestly would just be fine with just the frame rate with a lower resolution. Just the only reason I say that is because...
But how low is your standard, Days, for next gen? How low is the standard, would you say, for next gen?
I would want to just...
Do you want to get away from 1080p?
I would want to get away from 1080p, but if it still looks good at 1080p with 60 frames, I would do that. Just my only example that I have right now, I don't play too many games like Miles, but like for Overwatch, for example, I can put on the Ultra and it does look good, and I have the 2K monitor. But my frame rates go really low, and I can tell. So I would put it to just high or even lower to get the higher frame rate because it just, to me, playing the game makes it better. Yeah, I enjoy more that way.
So the fluidity, regardless, is just more important.
To me, yes, personally, yes, that's
Same
more
here.
important.
Well,
to me.
so
I'm just using that as an example. That's the only comparable one I can do. Splitgate, the other one FPS I play on the computer is similar.
Okay. I was just thinking, because like we're getting on these blown up like 55 plus inch TVs, and for next gen it'd just be really kind of nice to get away from that, because I'm sure the console will be able to handle it. I'm not saying so much of it being a minimum, but I really do kind of want to get away from 1080p if we can. Not necessarily reaching 4K, but
if they can push 2K and be 60 or 120, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I think with the Series X and the PS5, they won't be doing that until the mid upgrade, which I believe is going to happen, and that's going to be the norm. Mid upgrade. When they do the
I don't
next
think they want to
upgrade.
do a mid upgrade.
They will.
That's the whole thing. I don't think they want to.
I don't
because
think
that was
I
the
know,
whole
but
issue with this here, is that they had to do a mid upgrade to keep up with what the games were what they were trying to push out, and I don't think they want to do that with this.
I'm just saying, I'm being realistic in that point. I mean, I could be wrong. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to be right, but if it is, that's going to be the factor.
I think they
That's
might, just because of the sense that it's been proven that it worked and it did sell.
Xbox
and then people are so
Sony
used to upgrading phones these days. And,
so
yeah,
it's not a big thing anymore.
And now they're calling it
Series. For us, but it sucks,
Well, they're calling it Series X. Like, what if they do like a Series X2 or something? They can kind of play around now. I think with this naming.
What they got to do is give it a proper name. That's what they got to do. I hate this X everything. No, stop it.
It's better than going back to a 1, though, right?
Yeah, whatever.
That was the 360. That was
the
one.
Xbox.
No, I'm saying Xbox One, the name, just like that.
It doesn't matter. The point is, it's dumb. The name is stupid. You got to work on that.
Anyways, that's all we got, right?
Yeah, that's all we got. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below, and stay tuned for more videos about video games, anime, whatever. So, signing off, this is David the Smash Fan.
How's your tech guy?
Mr.
And this is Chibi No Podcast.
See ya.